Kuala Lumpur is a strange place. On the one hand, you have a really fast-growing and modern rapid transit system, but on the other hand, you have this. Man, Southeast Asian urbanism do be kinda crazy sometimes. As a skyscraper fan, KL's always been on my bucket list for cities to check out, but it wasn't until recently that I discovered just how much transit they have built and indeed are building. And I'll take you on a tour of all that here today. We'll see that while the amount that's been built out is commendable, there's still lots of work to be done before we can truly call this a transit powerhouse city. The Greater Klang Valley Integrated Transit Network is a unified branding of all the lines in the area. It has 13 different lines. Well, this one's closed, this one's under construction still, and this one's a really short shuttle that happens to be operated by buses, even though it functions a lot like a people mover and really should have been one, but I digress. Clearly though, not all these lines are created equal. Indeed, there are 5 or 6 different modes across the system, depending on what you consider a mode, and they aren't always integrated with each other in terms of fares or easy transfers. This video will mainly focus on the rail lines covered by the RapidKL sub-brand, which includes a monorail, 3 lines of light metro with a 4th on the way soon, and 2 lines of full-size metro. But don't worry, we'll check out some of the other modes at the end. We're starting our tour just underneath the Petronas Towers on line 5 of the system, also known as the Kelana Jaya line. The line is fully driverless using Bombardier Innovia trains, which as you might know is the same technology used on the Vancouver SkyTrain and other systems too. It starts in the northeast, weaving its way into the city center where it dips underground for a bit, then pops back up on a beautiful approach into KL Central Station, then continues elevated all the way through the affluent Subang Jaya area, the line's namesake suburb Kelana Jaya, and ending in Putra Heights. It's quite a popular line, moving 73 million people in 2023, and given that the trains are quite narrow, they do feel pretty busy at times. And here is the approach into KL Central, where you can get a great glimpse of the cityscape and some other rail lines nearby. Indeed, I got off at KL Central, which as you may guess is the most important train station not just in Kuala Lumpur, but the entire country. You can connect here to many regional trains, intercity trains, the new ETS, and of course the airport link, but more on that later. But among all that, we're heading for the lowly monorail, which just like in Singapore on the Sentosa monorail, we have to cut our way into a mall. The monorail, number 8, has 11 stations, twisting and turning its way around the city center. Now look, it is a common urbanist trope to hate monorails, and I don't want to come off as just another one of those, because I do think that they can be good. Sometimes. But the one in KL definitely has issues that prevent it from standing out. For one, it just doesn't have the capacity, with only 4-car trains and running at a frequency of 7 minutes, which isn't great, especially when compared to all the higher order modes that have opened since the monorail existed. The alignment is also super bendy, which slows it down. But to be fair, many other lines also have this problem, but it's even more severe for an already slow mode like a monorail. When you combine this with the laundry list of accidents that this line has suffered, it's no surprise that downtown is still super congested. This spot right here at Titiwangsa, the northern end of the line, pretty much says it all. Though it's worth noting that this place is slowly becoming a rapid transit mega hub, kinda like Châtelet in Paris, now with 4 rail lines and plenty of buses, as well as a 5th rail line potentially soon. That will be the Circle Line, also known as MRT3 or maybe Line 13, and it will bring KL on par with many great cities around the world with a heavy rail orbital line. Though from what I'm hearing, not everyone's happy with it, though MRT Corp do a great job at informing riders about the benefits that this line will bring. That deserves credit. Halfway down the line is Bukit Bintang, the central shopping district in the city, also home to the Wish.com version of the Shibuya crossing. But there's still quite a lot going on here. If you can bother to look at the billboards for as long as I did to get a shot of the monorail coming in, I didn't even orient my camera that well, but no matter, let's catch our next line, the first full-size metro or MRT line, the Kajang line. Oh wait, no, I got that wrong, it's the Kajang line. Can't be making that mistake. The Bukit Bintang monorail station and MRT station are quite a bit off to the side from each other, which further proves that transfers can be a pain on this network. But here we are at the Kajang line, and it definitely lives up to being a new system with all the shiny infrastructure. The rolling stock on this line is the Siemens Inspiro, a driverless metro that's been ordered all over the world from Sydney to Sofia, as well as a few U-Bahns in Germany and Austria. The London Underground, meanwhile, will also get a derivative of this technology very soon. The line travels from northwest to southeast, and it follows the rather predictable pattern in KL of lines being named after one of their termini. If you prefer the numbers, this line is number 9, but the numbers are really only used on maps and not the in-station wayfinding, so don't get too used to them. But first, let's talk transit etiquette, because in KL, I saw a lot of people waiting on the sides of the doors and leaving space down the middle for people to exit. This was great to see, and makes me wish it was common in other places, as sometimes getting on or off a crowded train can feel like a free-for-all. Much like the similar sounding but completely different Kelana Jaya line, the Kajang line is only really underground in the city center before coming up to elevated sections. This bit in particular around Taman has sound barriers. And as one of the newer trains in RapidKL, you'd expect good digital wayfinding, and while the screen is rather cluttered, it gets the main points across and also shows all the transfers. I turned back and transferred at Maluri, which is actually a rare instance where you don't have to leave the paid area to change between two different modes. What's nice is that the maps tell you beforehand which transfers can be done in the paid area and which ones require tapping out and in again. Anyway, this is a stop on the Ampang line, or line 3, another one of the LRT lines. It's twinned up with the Sri Petaling line, or line 4, both of which used to be branded as one and the same with 2 branches, but are now 2 lines with 2 different colors and numbers. The 2 lines run together in the city center for 11 stops, where they provide pretty good frequency before their junction at Chan Sao Lin. Then the Ampang line goes to Ampang, and the Sri Petaling line goes to, I'll let you guess, lock it in? Putra Heights, not Sri Petaling. But it did used to end there, of course. The Putra Heights extension is relatively new, and of course is a neat transfer to the Kelana Jaya line. Now these lines aren't great for speed or capacity, but they still have good connections to useful nodes and are pretty fun from a rail fanning perspective, of course. They're definitively light rail vehicles, but they have high floors to maximize space in the car. There are no grade crossings and the line never dips underground, meaning you always get neat views even in and around downtown. As the sun set, I headed to a station called Hang Tuah. Hey, I see you there. Stop laughing. What's funny about this? Seriously? I can see you laughing. Just don't. There's nothing funny about the station's name. What could possibly be funny about the station's name? Anyway, Gen Alpha memes aside, I came here mainly to fulfill what everyone told me I should do in Southeast Asia and try ice cream from Mishra. Mishra? I still cannot say it, but it was pretty good. The next day I rode the final line in our tour, but first this is Tunrazak Exchange. One of the city's largest stations is connected to a rather bougie mall and the Exchange 106 Tower. It's also a dual cross-platform transfer, similar to City Hall and Raffles Place in Singapore. The lines in question are the 2 existing MRT lines, the Kajang line, which we just saw, and the Putrajaya line, which is the next one that we're about to get on. This is the newest rapid transit line in the city at the time of this recording, number 12. It starts at the same point as the Kajang line and ends at, I think you know how this goes by now. The Hyundai Rodam trains here in the Putrajaya line are identical in size to those on the Kajang line, but they felt a little more spacious to me. Maybe that's because not a lot of people were riding? I rode the line out to its very extremities, and this gives you all you need to know about the issues with rapid transit here. Some of the stations here are pretty desolate, and the bus system has pretty mixed reviews. While in Singapore, taking the bus is seen as an ordinary part of getting around, and believe me, Singaporeans love their buses. In KL, it seems like they're not at that stage yet. From what I can tell, the primary goal of MRT-operated buses is to feed you into the rail stations, which isn't a bad thing, but it can mean that getting somewhere that's not reasonably close to a rail station can be pretty undesirable, especially when you have to fight the tide of seemingly eternal car culture. So that's the end of my RapidKL tour, but just quickly, here are the other rail lines in the integrated numbering system. Lines 1 and 2 and the currently suspended Line 10 are KTM commuter trains, operated by the National Railway. These trains are not as frequent as you'd hope, running hourly off-peak, and I hear they're not the most reliable. That was a real shame for me, as I hoped to check out the Batu Caves at the north end of Line 2, but couldn't fit it into my short stay. What I could fit into my stay though was the airport link, also known more formally as the Express Rail Link. Kuala Lumpur's international airport is pretty busy, but it's quite far from the city, 60 kilometers away from KL Central Station. But thanks to this airport link that opened in 2002, you can complete the journey in half an hour. The express trains, or Line 6, go straight from KL Central to the airport and run at 20-minute headways from 5 AM to midnight. The line also carries local trains, known as KLIA Transit, or Line 7, that make 3 additional stops along the way, including at Putrajaya where we just were. These ones run every 15 minutes at peak times and every 30 minutes off-peak. The express trains have plenty of space for luggage storage. I just wish they had power outlets though, but the trip is so short that you might not even need one. The trains certainly do feel fast, as they indeed are, with a top speed of 160 km per hour, and during our trip we were hovering around 140 to 150 for most of it. In Canada, a train like this would be considered high-speed rail. Until Indonesia opened their Wush trains, yes that's the real name, these were Southeast Asia's fastest trains. What's more, at least in Terminal 1, the station is directly underneath the terminal, which means no long walks and makes things super convenient. It's places like Kuala Lumpur that are the reason why I talk so much about airport transit on the channel. When done well, it can be truly seamless. And despite Changi being super fancy and glitzy, this is one aspect where KLIA comfortably beats its southern neighbor. And that right there is Kuala Lumpur's rail transit in a nutshell. Thanks for stopping by if you're still here, and I hope you enjoyed it.